All right, folks, welcome to the show. This is Lonzo Williams, editor of the Hub City Legend. And today I have a very interesting guest, a brother I've been threatening to interview for the past 2-3 years now. Every time I see him, man, I'm gonna interview you. He says yes, and I just, for whatever reason, it don't happen. But today it's going to happen. Today, my guest is Abel Prudhomme. Did I pronounce it right?
You're doing fine, brother. You're
Fantastic.
Doing fine. Any way works.
All right. Abel Prudhomme, he is a brother very active in the community. And he has an organization. I'm going to let him tell you about it. He has an organization that serves the community and is also involved in the clergy of the community as well. Abel, you have the floor. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Brother Lonzo. It's been a blessing since the day I met you. You know, one thing about our community is, you know, we work from the heart. So it's so nice to be in a community where you can meet somebody for the first time. And by the time you finish talking, it's like you grew up together. So I appreciate you. And I think about your work all the time. And I get all your emails. You do a lot of work. I get the community announcements. I see the wonderful events you're putting on. I see the influence of your work. And when I talk to people in various areas, and especially in the city of Compton, you know, I hear great things. So it's good to be on your show, brother. Good to be with you.
Appreciate that. I really do.
Great blessing. So I guess to give a little intro, my name is Abel. I joke around and say that's what my mama told me, so I believe my mama. But my name is Abel, Abel Prudhomme, and I was born and raised here in Los Angeles, in the city of LA. I'm born in LA County Hospital, went to LA High, among other high schools. LA City College. I got LA branded all over me. And I'll be honest, when I was a little tyke growing up, I said to myself, man, as soon as I get old enough, I'm going to get out of this place. I'm going to go find me a nice farm somewhere in the middle of the nation, one of these small towns and all of that. And then round about 1980, I'm being very exact right now, April 16th, 1980, when I was 20 years old, a long time ago, I was a lot younger, I met the Lord Jesus Christ, and that made all the difference. And from that time on, he called me to do something that I had not initially wanted to do, and that was to stay in the city and to be an inner city missionary to the city, which means to strengthen the city as much as possible, to strengthen the people as much as possible in the light. And before, and I'm just keeping it real, you know, I'm faith-based regional coordinator. I've got my faith. That's as far as my day job goes. I'm also the executive director of the SALT, the Saviors Ambassadors Laboring Together. And it's because of my faith that I took the day job position. But yeah, I have worked for over 45 years as an inner city missionary here in our city. I have gone door to door. When I say some of this stuff, it's like for years, if not decades in some cases. I've gone door to door in the projects, the main projects, Nickerson Gardens, Pueblos, the Jordan Downs. I mean, you know, all over the place, into the jungle, what we call the jungle. Everybody in the area know what the jungle is. If you're outside of town, we have to explain it to you. In our area, we've been up and down. And I was systematic before we had spreadsheets and stuff. We would break out the Thomas Guide, and I would break out the streets, make sure we don't miss anybody. That was a door to door. Then we got into doing ministry where we would go to the malls, so all the different shopping centers. And then we also had ministry for many years, where we would go to the college campuses, and we would go and connect with people there. And we would work with people, especially with young people, and help them to build up their lives, help them with getting established in society, getting away from some of the problematic things we have in this society, especially in the inner cities that are around here in our area, and help them to get established in, you know, school, career, family, home, being a pillar in the community. And that is the work that I continue to do currently. And I don't know if you want a brother to give big testimonies in here, but there's quite a bit.
Come on with it.
Okay, I'm gonna come with it then. So let me come with a little bit more, because I joke around with people, and I say things like, well, I'm always willing to speak up and say what I think I should say, even if it gets me in trouble. So let me do some more of that.
Stay in trouble. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so yeah, I was formerly homeless. I mean, let's just keep it real. I was a problem in this city. See, okay. I was part of the problem sector. Shall we put it that way? Okay. You know, from criminal activity to you know, drug addiction to just anything goes. And I don't know about how everybody else lives their life, but from an early age, my mentality was, if you're going to do something, do it. So when I was sinning and out there just in the world, young teenager and all this kind of stuff, that was my, unfortunately, way of applying and living that out. So, however, there came a time where God dealt with me and I became religious, but I still wasn't. And you have to understand, I'm speaking from a Christian perspective. I respect anybody else's faith who's watching this, but I'm speaking from a Christian perspective because that's my life. Okay. So I came to this religious understanding for about 3 months. It was after I saw that movie with that red hair, and I don't believe that's the right depiction and all of Jesus. But there's a famous movie that's used in evangelism all across the world. I saw the last part of it, and as I watched it, I was confronted by God. And the confrontation was my gosh, if he did all that for me, the least I can do is try to ante up. Right. And from a friend of mine who kind of started going to church, being an influence in my life, I started going to church, carrying the Bible, trying to be a good boy. That went on for 3 months. And then I met a friend of mine who was what you would call a bad, influence, like the worst in my life. And next thing you know, I'm back doing old stuff, back again. Went on for 9 months. Just there we go again. And one morning, now I had a single apartment. I had about 3 people living with me, living with me, And that particular one, the one who kind of, helped lead me back into the sinful path, woke up one morning and was freaked out. Y'all ever talk to somebody who was just they were so freaked out, they freak you out? So they get up that morning and they're staring at me all crazy, and they're like, I had a dream. I had this crazy dream. I'm like, okay, well, what happened? They're like, well, we all burned. The place caught on fire. We all burned to death. We died. And God told me that if you, and then he stares at me, points at me, and says, if you don't get right with God, we're all gonna die. I'm like, so I'm kind of messed me up, that might mess me up now, but goodness sake, I was 20 then. I really messed me up. And I think God wanted me to be messed up in that way, as I'm calling it. And so I said, oh gosh, I thought, I gotta get it together, man. That's God's talking to me. And so, cleaned myself up. Monday came, I says, okay, doing it again. Being a religious guy. Had the Bible like I was doing those 3 months, took it on the bus. All right. I'm the religious guy. Whenever Sunday come, I'll go to church. I'll do all the things that God should do. And then the second day came on a Tuesday, and I was like, man. See, I didn't share with you that when I was at Religious but Lost, dude, it was the most boring phase of my life. I'm keeping it real. Okay. It was like I had gray sunglasses on, and the world was gray. It was just like, I remember somebody ran up on me during that time, and they were like, hey, but we got this great party. I'm like, I can't go. Why not? I'm a Christian now. I mean, that's how. And so I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to go back to that. But at the same time, equally so, I was hit with this crazy life of sin, and knowing I'm in judgment under God, and knowing that I'm not right with God, and I don't want to live that either. And so you're like, well, so what's the deal, Abel? The deal was no deal. The deal was limbo. The deal was in between. The deal was I was in between the world, no, and in between religion, being religious, no. I don't want either one. So Wednesday came, and I'm going through this. I still carrying the Bible, still trying to do it again. And I'm sitting on y'all know, some of y'all know, you get on the bus. This is a brother thing, right, Alonzo? They used to make us sit in the back. Now we own the back. You know what I'm saying? We own the back, man. That's control the bus. So I'm sitting in the back, not on the very back seat for my fellow bus, riders. You know what I'm talking about. I was on that second seat up, so I got the back seat, right? So I'm sitting there, and this brother on the bus, and he's lit up, and he's telling everybody, Jesus, he can save you. I'm just watching this. He talked to every single person from the, I think he got the bus driver from the first chair on back. And by the time he got back to me, I guess he felt a little worn out, and he just sat down. He didn't hit the back of the bus much. He just sat down on that side seat in front of me. And then after a few seconds or minutes, he looked over and he says, oh, I see you have a Bible. All right. So he was on again, and he starts telling me, now I've been to church, man. My grandma, I didn't realize this recently, but she identified herself like I do. She used to tell everybody she's an inner city missionary. I'm like,
Right.
oh wow. And she took us to all kind of churches. So normally I would have replied in a different way, but he would ask me. He says, "Man, do you know that Jesus can just, Jesus will save you? Are you Christian? Are you saved?" Normally I would have said, "Yeah, man, I go to church or something." But he just God had me different. I just said, "No, man, I don't really know what that is." And so he proceeded to tell me, "Man, just trust Jesus, or take your sins away. That's it. Just trust you." I forget everything else in detail, but that's the one thing I got. And so the bus stop came. I was a Century. Y'all know the city. No, I got the Century in La Brea. Got off the bus. Back in the day, that's how we did it. I got to I walked up to the door, turned to the guy, and I said, "All right, man, I'll check." Got off the bus. I had prayed to meet that guy again because he don't know what happened after that. He has no idea. I don't know where he is, but I've actually asked God, let me meet him in heaven, since I know prayer's been answered to meet him on earth. But on the way home, the long way home, the next bus, and the long, long blocks I had to walk to get to my apartment. And strangely, none of those guys lived me. They weren't there that night. It was just, I had the whole apartment. I get home. On the way home, it just kept growing. Just trust Jesus. That's it. Just trust Jesus. Just trust Jesus. And by the time I got home, I was like, "That's it. Just trust Jesus. Just trust Jesus." So I got in the department, man. Some people say some people get saved all wrong. I got saved all wrong. My altar was the toilet with the thing closed. Single apartment. All right. 20 years old. I got no furniture. I had a dresser. That was it. And a mattress. Okay. Bam. So, I'm kneeling. I pray, "Oh God, please, please." I'm saying all this stuff I've heard in church. Nothing happened. And finally, it's as if God just lifted me and I just trusted Jesus. That's it. And if anybody knows the Bible about Saint Stephen, as he's getting stoned to death, and he said he looked up, he saw Jesus standing next to the throne. It was something like that. It's as if Jesus just won. And I'm a clown a little bit, but it was like, this guy is nuts. He's trusting me in this 1 second. Let me get him now. And it's just like, all my sins were just, I'm free. What? I get up off my knees, and there's a song Christians sing. I rose, went forth, my chains fell off. I rose, went forth, and followed thee. And it was like I got up. It was as if I left my sins on the floor, like they were chains or something. And I'm pacing my apartment. I'm like, I'm an emotional. If y'all didn't pick this up yet, I'm an emotional dude. So I'm walking back, and I'm like, I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. I'm like, and then I wanted to call somebody. One of those cell phones. I had a landline. It's late at night. And something restrained me. It's like, "Abel, it's late now. Don't do it." But I got my job the next day. I worked at Hughes Aircraft. I told the first 3 people, "I'm a Christian now." All right. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian now. I went to get the 4th one, and as if the Holy Spirit, who I believe leads us, said, "Okay, Abel." So that's the beginning of my life. So I'm gonna make it shorter to wrap this up. I went to a church here. I went to another church where they actually had it set up like a Christian house situation. And we would go on the streets. You would drive by, especially this street. You would drive by to say the corner of Florence and Crenshaw, and it'd be nothing. You go do your shopping, you come back, and there'd be a full-blown concert going on because the pastor of the house church was a lead singer, gospel singer, and his 2 elders were his backup singers. And honestly, Lonzo, you kind of look like Brother Lou. Keep it like that. But so they would sing great songs. If y'all know the song "Be Grateful," you ain't never heard it unless you heard them sing it. But a crowd would come. The rest of us would be part of the crowd. People would come, and then he would finish, singing, and then he would preach. Brother Lou would put the Bible here like it was a gun, and he'd be preaching like he's shooting at you, and he could preach. And then he'd say, "All right, and now these people will talk to you. We invite them. They would come with us." So that was my first experience as an inner city missionary. And then I went on to another church that I stayed in for 39 years. And we did the inner city missionary work that I told you about in the beginning. And then there came a point when we had a bit of a revival. People know about revival, right? We had a move of God in the midst of us. We got right with God. Christians who thought we were okay, God got real close. And when he got real close to me, I found out hidden in my heart was, "I'll do anything you want, Lord. Don't send me to the missionary field to suffer and die." And so God found it in my heart and dealt with me. And so I surrendered. And when I surrendered, he starts working on me to go out and start a ministry. I'm going to make it even shorter, leave a lot of stuff out. Finally, the church closed
Mm.
at the beginning of March 2020. Y'all know 2020 history? Because the pandemic hit us at the end of March. Before it hit us, 1 to 2 weeks before it hit us, that church closed. And then I visited 2 other churches with my family. And after that, it's like Elijah in the cave, if you know the story. God came to me quietly and was like, what you doing? I told you to start a ministry. Your excuse is gone. Your church is closed. What you doing? And so I started ministering. I started pastoring. I wound up pastoring a group of people online. When all the churches went online, that's when I started pastoring. So I was online. And then God comes to me after a year and a half, and things were going pretty well. And I know this sounds like, what? He's like, close it down. And only comparison I believe that's the strongest in my heart to what happened next was like Noah and the ark, because God came to me with something strange. It was like, shut down your pastoring right now, because I'm going to send you next year, a year from now, next year, to strengthen the churches in the inner cities, beginning here in LA. I'm like, what? That's strange. Somebody listen will probably say, you making this up. I don't make nothing up. That ain't my life. Okay. I'm telling you what happened. It's nuts or not. Come lock me up if you want. So I prepared. I can organize. I can create. I can make websites. I can make organizations. I can make charts. I can make booklets. I start building and building and building, whatever this seemed like it should be. And then I got down to the last November in 2022. And the prayer was something like this. God, it's the end of the year. And right. I was praying. I know I'm pointing because I remember I was praying that. It's the end of the year. And I pretty much have done everything. I built. It's just a little bit of fluff left, but I've done everything I think I could. So maybe at the time I was taking the train into my job. I thought maybe I'll get off the train and pass out flyers to churches. And maybe I like, you know what? I'm very creative. Y'all Google me if you want. I'm very creative. But I'm like, I don't trust none of that. You know what? I did not ask for this. I know it sounds a little, you said that to God. I didn't ask for this. Why am I worrying? You take care of it. I'm cool. That's me praying through. And 2 days later, I'm sitting there with my boss. I'm working at H.O.P.I.C.S. It's the lead agency for SPA-6. SPA-6 is LA County Service Planning Area number 6. And that is Compton, Paramount, Linwood, and all of South Los Angeles. Everybody around here know that that's what some of us call the inner city. But I hadn't really identified it because he had told me to strengthen the churches in the inner city, right? So he tells me 2 days later, Abel, did you know because I keep it real. He knows me. He knows, just like I'm keeping it real with y'all. My boss knows me. He's like, Abel, I know you and I know your heart. Did you know that there's a faith-based regional coordination position? I'm like, what? It's called faith-based regional coordination position. It's a position. And Erica, the senior manager, would love to hire you. She knows you. It turned out Erica had held the job from even, there was a pastor had a degree and other people. She's like, nah. So I said, okay, tell her I'm interested. That was Thursday. Tuesday, I prayed. Thursday, he tells me this. I ain't never been promoted so fast, y'all. The next morning, 8 a.m., I get an email from Erica. 8 a.m. email, right? She sends it 8 a.m. I see it 8 a.m., right? She's like, can I meet with you? I was sure. So then next thing you know, 10 a.m., have a Zoom meeting, a first interview. Y'all ever heard about a job and got interviewed that fast with the senior manager? So that's a Friday. So the next working day is Monday. Same thing. 8 a.m. email. Can I meet with you with the social director, Ben K? And then boom, I got a second interview, wow. And then I'm sitting around for a few days like, is this really going to happen? And it happens. And I start doing it. And then I thought, wait a minute. I looked at the paperwork. The official effective day of the position was the first, I think it was January 3rd that year or something, but the first working day of the year. It's like, and I tell people, God knows I'm not consistent to keeping a journal like Abel. I'm going to do it like this because you're going to tell everybody as you go from now on that I did this. So thank you, Lonzo, for letting me share with you. But what I share with you, I share with almost every faith leader I meet in the community because I want to let them know where I'm coming from. And I try to keep it real. They keep it real with me. And we had the same connection that you and I had, Lonzo. I meet him. I mean, I've walked away from meeting the pastor the first time where he fed me soul food. And I feel like he's my daddy. So we are in the middle of, I wonder if we're at the edge of it, though. We're in the middle of something that God has been doing. Faith-based regional coordination. There's a faith-based regional coordinator in Washington, D.C. That movement, that concept is happening all across the United States of America. Let me tell you something about God. There are other movements. There's the dinner church movement. You know, I talked to the guy that founded it. He's like, he just wants to do that. I'm like, but brother, there's other things too. There's the underground church movement. There's actually an underground church network
What's
movement.
the underground church network?
Underground Tampa, Florida. Put an underground church network, Tampa, Florida. Find a 30-minute video. Watch 5 minutes. You're gonna want to finish the thing. But there's different things happening. So faith-based regional coordination is part of that. Now let me ask you this. I am actually assigned by LA County Homeless Initiative. Okay, that's in LA County.
Okay.
I'm based at H.O.P.I.C.S. I remember Erica told me, she says, Abel, if anything happened and our agency lost their contract, you would still have a job. You're actually in a different groove here. So that's the county. That's the government working with the faith community. What? But see, I know my Bible, right, y'all? So I know that happened in Nehemiah. I know that happened in the book of Daniel, in the days of Daniel and Nehemiah. I know that happened in the days of Esther. I know that happened in the days of Moses. Even though God had a strong arm Pharaoh, it happened. And God suddenly was working with the government. And I've been telling people, I know Christian history. And I know that before the Civil War, there was a third great awakening, national revival, and other times like that in Christian history where God came in and then disaster happened because God in his mercy was trying to reach out to us before disaster came. Y'all, okay, sociological professionals, history professionals, ecological professionals, they're all predicting the end. Hey, man, the global community. I mean, I'm trying to not scare nobody. I'm trying to tell you this.
You're scaring me, Abel. You're scaring me. Come on.
Okay, let me come with the hope. God brings the opportunity. He brings it. Stop that, Lazo. He brings the opportunity. So what he's given us is an opportunity to partner with him, to reach out and show his love to people. I just had a meeting this morning. That's why I couldn't reschedule for that other time we were talking about Alonzo. I had a meeting this morning. The guy laid on my heart, and it's not really, necessarily my pay grade. I mean, what they assigned me to do, shall I say? That's what I'm trying to say. And I partnered with some of the leaders at H.O.P.I.C.S, community-based organizations, and the faith community, because we realize that right now we got some of our neighbors who feel too afraid. They don't feel comfortable, let's put it that way, to go to work and earn income. And even more close to it, they are not going to grocery shop. They need someone to bring them food. I mean, this is happening. And because it's happening, we have to reach out. So when I meet somebody like Alonzo and the work he's doing, I meet somebody like Mayor Emma Sharif. She's called together recently the clergy and are working together with them actively to reach the community and help out and bless our community. So, I'm going to end on this. Get in partnership. And then you can ask me the questions you want, Alonzo. Get in partnership with people like Alonzo. One of the things that I'm so blessed to do, and it's the kind of thing I did today in this meeting, is to connect people. I connect people all day long. Oh, you're doing this? Well, you should meet so-and-so. They're doing this. You're doing this. This person should connect with you because they can help. That happens all day long because the devil is a liar. He likes to separate us. That's a lie that you can't work with somebody. You can't trust nobody else if you're feeling that in your spirit. You can work with other people and you should. You have to be careful. Because not everybody you should work with, but you need to do that, and that I'm so happy to be a part of. So that's all I got, man. I talked a lot. You let me get testimonies. You let me talk all kind of stuff, brother. Go ahead, man. I don't know how much time I took up, but I'm okay. Go ahead.
All right. My question: what is H.O.P.I.C.S?
Good question. Yeah, I don't really believe in just throwing out acronyms. So thank you, man, for clocking me on that one. H.O.P.I.C.S is let me see if I can get it right. Homeless Outreach Programs Integrated Care Systems. What is that? LA County is as big as a nation. Let's just there's a lot of nations you could fit inside of LA County. It's so big. So what LA County did, the social services for LA County, they divided it up into 8 different areas so that they could work on those different areas. In each of those areas, they find one nonprofit organization and make it the lead agency in that area. And then that one lead agency works in partnership with other nonprofit agencies in order to get the social services that are available out to our people. That's what happens. It's service plan and area, they call it, but everybody abbreviates, so they call it SPA. So if you've been in a meeting, somebody said SPA 1, 2, 3, SPA with a number, you're like, what the? That's what they're talking about. LA County Service Planning Area, Antelope Valley Service Planning Area 1, San Fernando Valley Service Planning Area 3, San Gabriel Valley with Pasadena and all that up in it is Service Planning Area, 3. I can go down the list, but Service Planning Area 6, and you can Google this. Service Planning Area 6 is the one I named. So H.O.P.I.C.S is the lead agency for Compton, Paramount, Linwood, and all of South Los Angeles. Did I explain that, brother?
Yeah, by all means. Now, what kind of services does H.O.P.I.C.S offer homeless individuals?
H.O.P.I.C.S offers some really great services, but as I say that, I feel like I need to add in. Do realize though that we're in the middle of a funding crisis because something happened up in somebody's white colored house somewhere off another part of the country. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So anyway, H.O.P.I.C.S has services primarily focused on homelessness because that's the primary focus, of course, when it comes to the social services we're dealing with. Things lead to homelessness, or you find an individual who's in homelessness. So whether it's domestic violence, which can cause homelessness, or it's human trafficking, which I call the horror of homelessness. I'm just naming them off. It's just anything you think, eviction prevention, all these things exist. So to be specific on what H.O.P.I.C.S does, first of all, I need to tell y'all, go to HOPICS.org. So that's the word HOP, H-O-P, like Paul, I-C, like cat, S, HOPICS.org. And in doing so, and let me do a little bit as I go with you. In doing so, you're going to come to the services that they specifically offer. Yeah, let me do this with you because it's a technological world we live in, right? So let's do that. Hold on a second. So when you go to HOPICS.org, you're going to click on services, and you'll see a listing of what is offered. For example, here's one I didn't mention. There's reentry. So not everything I mentioned, though. That's why I want to specifically go there. So click on services. I'm doing it with you. Click on services. And you'll see that there's housing offered. I'm about to mention something on that. Housing is offered. There's interim housing, like temporary housing that's offered. Then they work with people to actually get their own place. There's a system, the way it works, where they help pay part of the rent, then less the rent as they help the person to get employment or get themselves established in whatever way that needs to be. So H.O.P.I.C.S, again, is the lead agency that offers these different services. And there we go. Yeah, homeless access. They have homeless I'll come back to the access centers. There's interim housing. There's street-based engagement. That's where we actually have teams of people who, almost all of them, were formerly homeless themselves and know how to talk to somebody who's in that situation. And usually there's a medical person with them in that team. It's usually a team of 4. But we have street outreach engagement for now, as long as the funding continues. But there's some issues with that. There's some fundings that are being changed and shifted right now as we speak. Sure. Family. So that's a street-based engagement. We have behavioral health services. We've had a trauma center, and that may be going away, right? There's a lot of things happening. We can come to that. There's housing placement and stabilization, reentry. There's reentry. Reentry, in case you're not familiar with the term, is someone when they're incarcerated, they get out of being incarcerated and they need help getting reintroduced back into society, whether it be housing, employment, whatever it is. There's other supportive services, and of course, there's collaborating with the community. So those are some of the main things. As I said, if you go on the site and click on it, you'll find out a whole lot more. It's a very good site, and you'll be able to find a lot. But let me come to the access centers.
Go ahead.
So Lonzo's asked me some good questions. So I'm gonna click back so I can see you again. So there used to be, and this again, forgive me if you know this stuff, but Alonzo's right to ask me this for those who don't. So there used to be in Los Angeles what we all knew as the welfare system. And in fact, when I first started going out and connecting with the different faith leaders in our community, many of them thought we still were in the welfare system. But that has been gone for about almost 10 years now. So that was under LA County. They had the welfare system. It wasn't functional. Somebody identified it not being as functional. Let's put it that way. I myself tried to access the welfare system when I was homeless. It was dysfunctional for me. But anyway, that got replaced. So instead of the county being the one to control things with the welfare system, they had something come in called Measure H that got voted in years ago. And Measure H funded and began a movement of having the nonprofit, the grassroots organizations. For example, H.O.P.I.C.S, as it says on its website, was basically conceived in a cardboard box by a man named Mike Neely, who was homeless and lived on the street in his cardboard box. But he saw that there was a need, and he did something about it. It's a grassroots organization. So what they did was they funded the nonprofit agencies, the grassroots organizations, and that's how welfare system went away, and this new system came into play. It's called the Coordinated Entry System. Everybody wants the acronym. It's CES. It's known as the CES system. So all that means is there is now this system with these different lead agencies and these different service planning areas, all the 8 different areas in LA County. I didn't mention them all. I didn't feel like y'all wanted me to number them, especially when you can Google it, but I could. But what I'm saying is there's at least one access center in every one of those areas, and most of them only have one access center. However, H.O.P.I.C.S actually has 6, I believe it's 6, and are now working on adding Compton. In fact, there's going to be a new center opening in Compton. They've been working with the mayor and everybody else. I guess you heard about it. So all that's happening. So what does that mean? That means that's the place that you need to go to in order to access all these services. Somebody might say, well, I want to go down there and can I just call on the telephone? No, there's a lot of confidentiality involved, and they want to actually meet with you. They have to meet with you. They don't do it over the telephone. They don't just do it via email. None of that works. You have to go down there. First thing they told me when I started this was almost like get to the chopper from Arnold Schwarzenegger in your head. It's like, get to the access center. Abel, you got to tell people to get to the access center. They got to get to the access center. So that's what that is. The main one in the area, and I'll just tell you 2 of the main ones. 2 of the main ones is, number one, the one that's based at Slauson and let me get their corner because I know it's on Crocker. But that's Slauson and San Pedro. Okay, if y'all find Slauson, San Pedro, or just Google H.O.P.I.C.S. By now, if you're on the internet, if you're on your computer, you don't find H.O.P.I.C.S.org anyway. But that's the main one because that's where you go for families. That's where you go if you're for singles, and that's where you go. That includes older adults, of course. Also, that's where they have their response to eviction there. Okay? They have the eviction prevention there as well. So that's the main one to go to, but feel free to call first and confirm before you go if you want to do that. But I'm just telling you up front. Okay. The second thing I want to tell you, though, the second one that I believe is important, and I believe it's important because I remember when I was homeless, and that is the Navigation Center. You say, well, what's the big deal about that? The Navigation Center is set up for somebody who's living on the street. The Navigation Center has showers, and for my brothers and sisters listening who lived on the street. You know what I'm going to say. You'll understand the importance of what I'll say next. Those showers are almost to the doors, almost to the ceiling, almost to the floor. Because if you've been homeless, you don't trust nobody. Your trust level is like, okay, all right. So I'm sorry, your lack of trust level. Your trust level is down here. So they're fully enclosed with a nice lock on them, so that somebody feels comfortable to go get showered up. They got a full, and these are all free services, of course. They got a full laundry there. Washers, dryers, full laundry. They've got change of clothing. Also, they got clothing donations there for people. They're always asking for donations for men. So y'all, if you got some stuff you want to throw out, don't throw it out. Contact them and get it to them. But they got that. They also have, and this is key. Y'all been homeless, they got storage. So they have big giant bins with numbers on them. You can store your stuff in the bin, and that's the deal. If you leave it past, I think it's 90, not 60, I think it's 90 days. If you leave it past 90, they'll tell you, past 90 days, they don't throw it in the trash. They just throw it into a big pile. They're going to trash your stuff. But that works really good. So I'm sorry, but it's something I think is strong. I say, put me back in the day when I'm homeless. I show up there. What happens? They say, hey, but we'll help you get housed. We'll help you. You can talk to the case man. I'm like, I don't trust none of y'all. You say, well, I tell you what, man, this, because I'm all messed up. So I take a shower. I feel better. I clean my stuff up. I feel better. I got a place to store it. I feel better. I got to change the clothes on. I feel better. People have been nice to me. Now I'll talk to your case manager. So I'm just saying, I took a minute for that because I'm saying it's a great place for that. But let me tell you something. You walk by somebody homeless and you say, why don't somebody help that person? What's wrong with us? Nobody. You're the person. You are now the superhero as I tell you this. Download on your phone or go on the internet on your desktop and pull up LA dash HOP, HOP, LA dash HOP.org. Okay. Or just put LA dash HOP on your phone and get the app, or, do it on your desktop. What happens is, and I did it myself, you're able to let somebody know to go help somebody. So I went out to CVS one night. I was all sick, needed some medicine. And oh my gosh, there's somebody sleeping under a blue blanket. So I sat in my car. I went on LA HOP and I reported, okay, blue blanket. This is where they're at from the CVS, blah, blah. And then within 48 to 72 hours, somebody gets sent out to help that person. You say, well, they might not be there when they arrive. Man, do something. Okay, maybe he moved, but at least you gave him a chance. So that's what happens. You let them know that they're there, and then they send a street outreach team out to talk to the person, try to work with them, try to get them to come to an access center, try to help, and even try to help them. They're bringing some snacks and little kit and all that kind of stuff. So that's LA-HOP. I told you about the access centers. Oh, a lot. And again, for those who know this, that's cool. But there's 211. And by the way, these are known as the three pillars of the CES system I'm talking about. That's the access centers, which I told you about. That's the LA-HOP. Now, the last one is 211. Call 211. Again, your friend here talking too much. Use 211. Okay. I was actually homeless twice because during the recession, my family and I couldn't afford it. I was in real estate, brother. You remember the recession? I was gone. And then I was in line to get a job, right? All these job, what do you call them, job fairs and stuff. The guy in front of me is a former CEO. The guy behind me used to be a business executive. I thought, I'm not going to get this nice, cushy job I'm trying to get. So I had to work 3 jobs. But before I worked 3 jobs, we wound up having to move in with some people. And thank God I was part of the faith community. For the people in the faith community listening, this is where the faith community steps up. I had people help me and they put me someplace. We had to live with a family, but that's like doubling up. And it was not good for me and my wife's relationship, y'all. But why am I telling you this? I called 211 before we got evicted. We didn't get evicted. We moved before that happened. But I called 211 before we had to move, and I was able to stay in our place for another month, I think, because they actually sent me to a particular church that had let 211 know that, if anybody calls, we got $1,000 check to help anybody in this situation. So 211 has stuff like that, and then they have stuff they normally have, like utility, discounts and stuff. So I always tell people, call 211, get everything you can from them. Go down to the access center, and then of course, if you're see somebody homeless, get on a LA HOP. So that's the whole thing. And again,
we got about 2 more minutes left. Tell me what you want to close out with.
Prayer. You can now, I'm talking to my people that know this. Whatever faith you are in, prayer. It is written, without me, you can do nothing. It is written, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman, he wakes up in vain. Prayer. We're not going to come out of this right unless we pray, because this is bigger than us. Do everything you're supposed to do, but ask God to guide you. Do everything you're supposed to do, and then go rely on God to guide you to do it. Do everything you're supposed to do, but we need to get together in prayer, and I'm going to be working on that with some faith leaders. That's all I got, my brother. I appreciate you.
If we got to go, that's how you got to go out. My brother, thank you for taking the time out and sharing your story with us, sharing the information. We appreciate it. This is Lonzo from the Hub City Legend. My man, Abel Prudhomme, thank you very much for taking out this time at your busy schedule, Doc. We will see you at the next event. We'll see you somewhere in the city. Much love, and thank you once again.